Hey everyone, Lewis aka Spider-Man 1991 here, and I want to talk to you an idea that's kind of been on my mind since reading the recent issue of Detective Comics. Could Connor Kent come back to the DC Universe? So last week's issue of Detective Comics 966, part of the A Lonely Place of Living story arc, and if you're not reading it, it's awesome, you should. The story arc features Tim Drake escaping Mr. Oz's prison and discovering that one of the other prisoners is his counterpart from a timeline where he becomes Batman. This version of Tim is one previously seen in a Teen Titans story arc known as Titans of Tomorrow. And in this arc, the Teen Titans at the time, which was basically Young Justice, the former Young Justice members, took on the mantles of their mentors, and one of which was Tim Drake became Batman. He started using lethal force, including the gun that killed Thomas and Martha Wayne as his primary weapon. Now, at the beginning of this issue, we do get to see a little bit of this version of Bat Tim's timeline, where we see him answering a call in the receiving a call in the Batcave from the Superman of this reality, who is Connor Kent. And of course, it is Connor Kent because even though his cameo is only brief, it's clear to the reader that this is Connor Kent and not John Wayne Kent, Superman's son. Because in the dialogue, even though the character is not referenced by Connor, he's just called Superman, we do see from his dialogue when he's talking to Tim, he refers to his telekinetic powers as touchdowning, which is something that in the Titans of Tomorrow timeline, Superman said a lot whenever he used his full telekinetic ability. Also, at New York Comic Con, fans were asking James Tynion IV if Connor Kent would return, and Tynion told fans to basically read the upcoming issues of Detective Comics, part of this arc, in order to get answers. Going back to the actual issue, by the end of the story arc, Tim and his future self return to Tim's version of Gotham City, but before leaving him, future Tim tells his younger self to apologize to Connor for everything. To which Tim responds, "Who the hell is Connor?" And of course, at this moment, Bat Tim realizes that that something's wrong, and that he could probably change his future if he does some stuff in the past. And at that point, he leaves Tim paralyzed so he can go kill Batwoman in order to change his future. Since Bat Tim is from an alternate future, this doesn't completely this doesn't automatically mean that we're going to see Connor Kent return someday. I mean, it would be nice if he did, but could this happen? Well, let's take a look at some things that have happened so far. A lot of things happening in Rebirth have been return of old characters. Wally West basically came back in the Rebirth one-shot. We've also got the return of the Justice Society of America and the Legion of Superheroes being hinted at, teased. I really want to see those stories. So maybe Connor could come back. Now, I would love that, but it is a little more complicated. The previous version of Connor Kent, or rather Con-El, from the New 52 is currently MIA, but that character never used the Connor Kent alias. He was either called Superboy or Con-El during his entire appearances. Also, he rarely teamed up with Superman, and even though he worked with the Titans, he was never really close with them. Also, if Connor does come back, he might not be Superboy anymore, because the current Superboy is the son of Superman and Lois Lane. And while DC hasn't been opposed to having two characters with the same name, using the same code name before, I mean, we currently have 2 Flashes, we've got at least 6 Green Lanterns, so maybe it wouldn't be that much of an issue, but it might be a little weird having a teenage Superboy and a preteen Superboy at the same time. Now, despite some of the problems, Connor's return isn't impossible. After all, this is comic books. They don't have a set continuity. Things change. I mean, hell, this opening arc of A Lonely Place of Living was basically retconning Tim's origin back to its original version instead, and dismissing the entire New 52 arc. And plus, this arc is pretty much very centered around Tim Drake's character, and I think one of his compelling traits as a character was his relationship with Connor Kent, because it was pretty much a new interpretation of the World's Finest team. I mean, they were really close best friends. Heck, even when Connor died, after Infinite Crisis, Tim pretty much spent a year trying to figure out how to reclone Connor in order to have his best friend back. Now that Oz's prison is shut down, some prisoners have escaped. Pretty much Tim and his future self were escaping from Doomsday. I mean, we know that Mr. Oz has a bunch of other cells in his prison, so maybe one of the cells could contain Connor Kent. But the problem with that idea is that it's a little odd that we have Connor Kent in a cell somewhere in Mr. Oz's prison, but we don't see Jor-El, who by the way is Mr. Oz, interacting with him in Action Comics. I think that would be a bigger role to happen in the whole Oz Effect story arc that's currently going on in Action Comics. Also, writer Geoff Johns has stated that Connor was one of his favorite characters that he's ever written, and Geoff Johns is pretty much the main architect behind Rebirth. So, you know, I think if someone did float the idea to him saying, hey, can we bring back Connor Kent, he would probably be okay with it. Also, if they were going to bring back Connor, I think the perfect time to do it would be when they finally announce Young Justice Season 3, the official air date, and bring him back around that time. Of course, though, we're still waiting on the announcement because DC wants to have their own streaming media platform in order to air the new season of Young Justice, so that might be a while. Of course, what do I think of all this? Well, Connor Kent is one of my favorite DC characters, and I would love to have him back. I really do. However, I want him to come back in a way that feels organic, and it's a great story, and it's not just because a bunch of fans kept telling at DC, we want Connor back, and then they said, okay, fine, here, he's back, whatever. I mean, I want it to be in a good, compelling way. I want his return to give me enough emotion like the way Wally West's return did. Okay, so what do you guys think? Do you think Connor Kent could come back? Would you like it? Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Also, remember to like and subscribe, stay notified to see all my new videos coming out soon. Also, follow me on my social media. Links are in the video description below. I'm Spider-Man 1991 saying, see you later.